A single signature shattered everything he thought he still had. Standing in the crowded lobby of a prestigious downtown bank, a widowed father watched his small business loan application slide back across the polished desk while the bank's celebrated CEO publicly dismissed him as nothing more than another desperate man who had dreamed too big. Employees looked away in silence, customers whispered, and his young daughter stood frozen beside him, clutching his hand as embarrassment filled her tearful eyes. What nobody in that room knew was that before the next sunset, the same CEO would discover that the quiet man she had humiliated owned the very building her bank had proudly called its headquarters for nearly 15 years. If you believe kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel to become part of our growing community that believes. Compassion is always stronger than pride. Graham Whitmore had never imagined that life could change so completely in just 3 years. Once a successful commercial property investor, he had stepped away from the spotlight after his beloved wife, Eleanor, lost her battle with cancer. The grief nearly destroyed him, but his greatest responsibility remained their 9-year-old daughter, Hazel, whose bright smile had slowly faded after losing her mother. Graham sold most of his investment portfolio, keeping only a handful of carefully chosen properties that generated enough income to support them. Instead of chasing larger fortunes, he dedicated himself to raising Hazel with patience, honesty, and unconditional love. Life became quieter, but it was never easy. Graham decided to open a small architectural restoration company, restoring historic buildings that larger developers often ignored. He believed preserving history mattered more than maximizing profit. Unfortunately, rising material costs and delayed payments from clients left his business struggling despite its excellent reputation. He needed a temporary business loan to bridge several contracts that were already guaranteed to pay within months. It was not a reckless gamble. It was simply a hardworking father asking for reasonable financial support. The bank where he applied happened to be led by Marissa Caldwell, a CEO celebrated in magazines as one of the country's youngest financial leaders. She was admired for her intelligence, discipline, and relentless pursuit of growth. Investors praised her aggressive leadership, employees respected her efficiency, and the media described her as fearless. Yet years of chasing success had quietly hardened her judgment. She had begun measuring people by numbers instead of character, believing financial statements revealed everything worth knowing about a person. On that bright Monday morning, Marissa toured the main branch to observe customer operations. She believed visible leadership inspired confidence. As she walked across the marble lobby surrounded by executives, she noticed Graham sitting calmly with Hazel beside him. Their appointment had been delayed twice already because of a scheduling error. Hazel quietly colored pictures while her father reviewed paperwork one final time. When Graham finally reached the loan officer, Marissa happened to pause nearby after overhearing concerns about his application. Curious, she asked to review the file herself. Within moments she saw declining revenue over the previous year, outstanding invoices, and limited liquid cash. She ignored the profitable contracts waiting to be completed and focused only on recent struggles. Without considering the full story, she concluded that approving the loan represented unnecessary risk. Instead of quietly explaining the decision, she addressed Graham loudly enough for nearby customers and staff to hear. She remarked that banks could not survive by financing dreams unsupported by stable numbers and suggested that some business owners needed to accept when their ambitions had exceeded reality. Although her words remained professionally polished, the message carried unmistakable humiliation. Graham felt every eye in the lobby settle upon him. He could have argued. He could have revealed details of his financial holdings. He could have reminded everyone that temporary hardship did not erase decades of responsible decisions. Instead, he simply thanked the staff for their time, gathered his documents, smiled gently at Hazel, and walked toward the exit with quiet dignity. Hazel looked back only once. The sadness in her eyes lingered with several employees long after the doors closed behind them. Marissa barely thought about the encounter again. Meetings filled her afternoon. Expansion strategies occupied her attention. Profit forecasts, investor calls, and regulatory reports consumed every hour. Meanwhile, Graham drove Hazel to school before visiting another client. During lunch, he received an unexpected phone call from his property management company. The bank occupying one of his largest commercial buildings had submitted a request to renegotiate its lease months before expiration because of plans for a major headquarters renovation. The property manager asked whether Graham wished to attend the afternoon meeting personally. Normally he declined such meetings, allowing professional managers to handle negotiations. Something told him to attend this one himself. The following afternoon, sunlight poured through the conference room windows overlooking the city skyline. Representatives from the bank arrived carrying financial projections and renovation proposals. Marissa entered confidently, expecting another routine business discussion. She froze the moment Graham walked into the room carrying a simple leather folder. At first she assumed he represented another investor. Then the property manager smiled warmly and introduced Graham Whitmore as the sole owner of the building and the final authority regarding every lease agreement. Silence settled over the room. Marissa felt the memory of the previous day's public humiliation return with painful clarity. Every executive around the table glanced toward her. For the first time in years, confidence disappeared from her expression. The meeting continued professionally. Graham listened carefully as renovation plans were presented. He asked thoughtful questions about sustainability, accessibility improvements, and long-term maintenance rather than rental income alone. His knowledge of architecture, engineering, and commercial development surprised everyone present. When financial discussions concluded, Graham calmly approved several improvements that would benefit both tenants and neighboring businesses, even though they would slightly reduce his own short-term profit. His decisions reflected long-term thinking rather than personal revenge. Marissa remained unusually quiet throughout the meeting. Afterward she requested a private conversation. Standing near the building's large windows overlooking busy streets filled with afternoon sunshine, she admitted she had judged him unfairly. She confessed that she had allowed spreadsheets to replace compassion and authority to replace humility. She apologized sincerely, not because he owned the building, but because she finally recognized the pain she had caused a father in front of his child. Graham listened without interruption. He explained that losing his wife had taught him something wealth never could. Every person carried burdens invisible to strangers. Financial statements could describe businesses but never measured courage, integrity, sacrifice, or love. He told her the greatest embarrassment had not been his own humiliation but watching Hazel believe that kindness mattered less than status. Those words remained with Marissa long after they parted. Over the following weeks, she could not forget the quiet dignity Graham had shown when he possessed every opportunity to embarrass her in return. Instead of seeking revenge, he had demonstrated restraint. Instead of celebrating her mistake, he had offered understanding. That realization transformed her leadership more profoundly than any executive seminar ever had. She initiated sweeping changes throughout the bank. Loan evaluations began considering community impact alongside financial metrics. Staff received empathy-focused customer service training. Special review panels were established for applicants facing temporary hardships caused by medical crises, family emergencies, or delayed commercial payments rather than irresponsible borrowing. Every employee was reminded that respect should never depend upon a customer's balance sheet. Some executives initially questioned the changes. Months later, customer satisfaction reached record levels. Loan repayment rates improved because stronger relationships encouraged better communication between clients and the bank. Employees discovered that treating people with dignity strengthened business rather than weakening it. Meanwhile, Graham's restoration company completed several landmark renovation projects that revitalized neglected neighborhoods while preserving local history. His business slowly flourished again, not because someone rescued him, but because perseverance eventually met opportunity. Hazel noticed the difference too. She watched her father face hardship without bitterness and realized true strength often remained quiet. One sunny afternoon nearly a year later, Marissa attended the ribbon-cutting ceremony for one of Graham's restored historic buildings. Families filled the sidewalks, children laughed beneath bright blue skies, and local businesses celebrated renewed prosperity. Graham invited her to speak briefly, not as the CEO who once embarrassed him, but as someone who had chosen to become better after recognizing her mistakes. Marissa stood before the crowd and admitted that leadership without humility eventually becomes arrogance. She thanked Graham for showing mercy when retaliation would have been easier and reminded everyone that success should never erase compassion. The applause that followed felt different from every award she had previously received because it honored personal growth instead of professional achievement. Before the ceremony ended, Hazel handed Marissa a small framed drawing she had made of the restored building beneath a bright afternoon sky. In one corner she had carefully written that strong buildings stand on solid foundations, and strong people stand on kindness. Marissa held the drawing with tears filling her eyes. It became the only decoration she ever placed on her executive office wall. Years passed, but the lesson remained visible to every visitor who entered her office. Whenever young managers asked how to become successful leaders, she pointed to Hazel's drawing before discussing business strategy. She explained that numbers built companies, but compassion built trust, and trust lasted far longer than quarterly profits. Graham never mentioned the painful day in the bank again. He chose to remember not the humiliation, but the transformation that followed. He understood that forgiveness did not erase the past, it gave the future room to become something better. Before this story comes to an end, take a moment to leave a meaningful comment sharing the lesson that touched your heart the most. Do you believe people deserve a genuine second chance after admitting their mistakes, or do you think some actions can never be forgiven? Your thoughts may inspire someone else who is reading the comments today. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. As the afternoon sun bathed the restored building in warm golden light, Graham and Hazel walked away side by side, smiling not because life had become perfect, but because they had discovered something even more valuable than success. Wealth could purchase buildings, businesses, and opportunities, but only humility could rebuild broken hearts. And on that ordinary day, in a city filled with strangers rushing toward success, a father, a daughter, and a humbled leader proved that the strongest foundations are never made of concrete or steel. They are built from kindness, forgiveness, and the quiet courage to see the humanity in every person.